friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Angel and today we're doing my January reading wrap up. I'm just thinking, you're like, Angel, you've worn that Oodie in the past 4 sit-down videos you've done, but listen, I'm not gonna change my ways. I'm comfortable. It's a Saturday, and like Saturday is my rotting day where I just like, I put this thing on and this is all I wear all day long. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. It is the first reading wrap up of 2025, which does feel pretty crazy that a month's already gone by, but dare I say this is a month that I got like, I'm gonna say my spark back for reading and just creating in general. I think what was happening in November and December is I was just in such a rut because I was so zoned in on Bookmas that I wasn't actually reading books I wanted to, or I wasn't even reading as much because I was just trying to film so much. And the editing is what took me out. This month I actually had a lot of fun and I was so excited about all the videos I was filming that like I had books planned for, I was super amped for. I turned for our readathon that really helped, but we read 14 books, which is much more me, I feel like. I was doing a lot of like 6 to 8 in like October, December. Of these books, I have 11 of them physically, 3 digitally, and one of them is an ARC as well. A very exciting one, mind you. This month did have 4 5-star reads, and we'll start at the very beginning with the first one, which was Just the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This was my early ARC I got. This book is just everything you've come to expect from Abby Jimenez in the sense that it was such an incredible romance story while also having such real and raw characters who are going through hard things individually and then together at the same time. Pretty much in this book, our main characters go on a date and they like immediately hit it off. Immediately they're like, this is it. But she's moving away the very next day, states and states over. I think it's like, is it literally cross country? It might be cross country. There's really no timeline of her ever going back. And so they kind of have to face the issue of, well, we want to be together so badly, but how are we going to accomplish that when we live halfway across the country? They each have their own personal things going on as well, but then also just having that like central, problem or issue in their relationship they had to work through was just so Abby Jimenez, if I may say so. I think every topic was handled so beautifully with such care. That's the one thing that always stands out to me with her books is that whatever she's talking about, I feel like she educates herself on and then does a very good job of portraying it and making people who go through those things feel very seen. So I think this one comes out in April, but get it the second it comes out, please. My second read was actually another 5-star, and that was Readathon by Frederick Bachman. Now, this was my first Frederick Bachman read, and let me tell you, this one was my last. I think I have 2 more of his books on my TBR for February. This one, without saying too much, it's like a small town that loves hockey. Hockey is the like center of everything they do here. Definitely trigger warnings because something terrible happens to the young girls in this town, and it kind of divides the town and looks a lot into morality and humanity. It was one of the books that made me like love and hate humanity all at the same time. There's a lot with justice and kind of like what that can mean in every sense, and then also just like getting your power back. And I just thought such a beautiful read, and it is a trilogy. And the way it ended off, I'm really excited to see where the next book goes. Sarah Crowley read this trilogy and rated every single book a 5-star, and I thought it was crazy when I rated this one a 5-star, and I was like, it's just gonna get better from here. She rated every single book in a 5-star, so I have very high hopes. The second book is called Us Against You, and that is my TBR for February, as well as I do also have Anxious People on my TBR for February as well, because the way this man can explain the most ordinary things, and it's the quotes in this book. I need to go back and reread and annotate it because I read it on my Kobo. I need to go back and transfer my highlights over and all stuff because some of the quotes that came out of this, like I think it was like 3 chapters in, I already had like 10 highlights, I'm pretty sure. Then I read Assassin's Quest, the last book in the Farseer trilogy, and I'm not sure this is an unpopular opinion. I did like this slightly less than The Royal Assassin, which is book 2, but I do think that's because it was just such whiplash for me going from Assassin's Apprentice, book 1, that I did not really vibe with in the sense that I was in a reading slump. I tried reading it and it just put me off it so bad. To then going to Royal Assassin and enjoying it so much that I think this one I didn't have like that drastic like change, if that makes sense. Like I didn't read it, I was like, oh my god, it's incredible, because I already was expecting good things coming from the second book. Does that make sense? I can't say too much obviously because it finishes this one off, but I do think this one ended off pretty well. I do definitely want to pick up Tawny Man, and I'm itching to read that, but I am currently in the middle of Live Ship Traders. That's the trilogy you read in between, and that one is going to be talked about in a hot second. I trust even say this is a 4.25 star. I really liked it. I'm actually going to go crazy because I think next is my 24-hour readathon. I kind of read a bunch of books during that time, so they're going to be quite in order. First book was Conversations with Friends, and this one my friend gave me who liked Sally Rooney. She wanted me to read one of her books. I told her I was hesitant. I never picked one up before. She'll be happy to know that Normal People is my TBR for February, but not exactly by choice. The spinner wheel chose it, but it's still on there and I will read it. I think this one's about a 4-star. I think so. I originally gave it. It could be 3.75 to a 4. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to say too much about it because I think this is one that if you go in blind is best. But if you've read Adelaide, it reminded me a lot of that book that I read last year. This one, it was a book of the month pick from last year. I read this and it kind of gave me the exact same vibes as that. So if you know this book, you'll know what I'm getting at with this. And I did read A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young, and this one I was surprised with, but I did enjoy it. I think the thing with this is I was expecting magical realism, because that was what was so present in The Unmaking of June Farrow that I really, really enjoyed. And that was a 5-star read for me. And I'm pretty sure her other book before that as well, Spells for Forgetting, I think is what it's called, also has magical realism elements in it. This one, unless I just completely missed it, did not have that. This one to me was more just a mystery, but I did really enjoy it. This is about James and Johnny. They're twins, and Johnny just like recently passed away in their hometown. And so James like going back to kind of like look into it, kind of see what happened. And of course she meets like her one true love that was like their friend when she gets back there also. That always happens. I will say there was like 2 different plot reveals at the end and I didn't guess either of them. So definitely keep on my toes, and I feel like I'm pretty good at guessing those kind of things. This one did get me though. Then I read Inkblood Sister Scribe, and this one I do think kind of just got, I'm gonna say like lost in the sauce at the 24-hour readathon. Kind of just got lost in there, I'm not gonna lie. It definitely is a 3.5 to 3.75. But it's just like Family is a collection of like magical books that they've like guarded forever, and then the two half sisters have to kind of take them over and protect them, and then just like everything goes off, you know. This is one that if you are like a fantasy lover, you will enjoy this. I just think for me it was more so it kind of just got lost in that 24-hour readathon funk, if you know what I'm talking about. Like none of their books in this vlog did, but I think there's always like one book that kind of just gets lost in it. I think this was that one for me. Then I read The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, and this one is a 4.5, if not a 4.75. I'm not gonna lie, The Bodyguard was a 5-star for me, and Hello Stranger I think was a 4. I gave it a 4. This one, I had 5-star feelings for the large majority of it. And then just the like last little, it wasn't even a third act conflict, but like the things she threw in at the very end to like make you think things were going awry. I felt like it was kind of bait, and it felt kind of icky, going for trauma. And then it was kind of like a switch up, like, oh no, it's not happening actually, everything's fine. And I was like, I don't know why, it not like it made me upset, but it just felt like kind of gimmicky to me. Like kind of like you just threw that in because you wanted something, which I get. Like you wanted a third act little conflict thing to happen. I didn't like it. I'll leave it that way. But some about 2 screenwriters. Our female main character is like a very like small screenwriter, and then her ex-boyfriend is actually her manager, and he also works for like one of the largest screenwriters in the country, I believe. And pretty much he wrote a manuscript for a rom-com that's absolutely awful, and that's what she specializes in. And so her manager asks her to go work with him on this manuscript to like fix it up and make it better. I really loved them. Like I said, I still do. And I think this could still be a 5-star if I just like can overlook the ending. But like I was just so annoyed by it. Cause I'm like, are you kidding me? That's like, so I'm gonna say 4.5 for now. Or 4.75. But by Readathon, I also read The Homecoming, and this one I gave a 4-star. This one's really good. It's like a then and now timeline, but it's one of those ones where as the chapters alternate, it's like a then timeline, and then it's like in the past, but gradually gets closer to the present. It's a story about these people who knew each other back in China, and then like as they navigated their relationship, and then navigated, you know, obviously growing up, and then like transitioning their life to the United States and how that was dealt with, and then where they are now. I thought it was very beautiful, very reflective. I fell in a 4-star for this one. Then I read Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I'm still going through my Cosmere journey. This is my book of his for January. I gave this one a 4.25 star. And the fact that people say this is like his, even he says, this is probably like one of his weakest works. It's one of his first books he ever published. Maybe it is his first book he ever published in the Cosmere. And he just says like, this is not my strongest work. And people even say like, do not start with this book because like, it's slow to like turn you off of his reading. And this is still 4.25 for me. And this is like proves my point that I was saying when I even got into it, is that like Brandon Sanderson at his worst, like in the most respectful way, is still probably better than most authors at their best, because like that's just how great his writing world building is. It's a standalone. I'm gonna say go into it blind. That's what I did. I didn't even read the back, and I really did enjoy it. I'm reading Warbreaker next, my TBR for February, so I'm very excited. And then we're getting into the Stormlight Archives, which is terrifying, if I'm being honest. And lots of books are in my readathon. The first one was Trip Switch by Alison Spica, and this is an indie author who keeps popping up on my For You page on TikTok. And I've been wanting to read her books, but like I said, I was kind of in that funk the past few months where if I wasn't reading it for a video, I wasn't reading. And then because I wasn't reading so little, I was only getting through my 8-book TBR and no additional books. And because her books I had on my Kindle, I wasn't reading them. I could just buy physical copies, but I didn't want to do that if I didn't know if I vibed with the writing first. Does that make sense? But like all her stories sound really intriguing to me. I think the next one I want to pick up is either Key Ridge, like a snowboarding one, or I think one's like The Reality of It All, and it's about like these people get like trapped into a reality TV dating show. It sounds really fun. But this one's a travel romance. That's what got me about this one, because I love traveling. Love it so much. And this one, it was based a lot in Santorini, which is a place that I was looking to go to either this year or next year. And so I think it was like so atmospheric in that sense. There's like I think it's the two best friends of a bride and groom. They're going on like a joint bachelorette party on a vacation. Then because of their own individual schedules, they both have to end up going the day after everybody else goes, and they have the airport together, same flight obviously, and it ends up being that they went to the wrong place. The travel agent, some of those mix up, they're in the wrong place. She always says her books are light on the spice, heavy in the banter, and I will agree. And I also liked how the spice in her books did not make me cringe. And it was perfect for my sense, because like when I have a romance book, I don't want like continuous spice. I want like the build up, all that stuff, maybe like 1 or 2 scenes near the end, we're done. And that's what this was, and it was amazing. It was a 5-star for me. And after, because I love the travel aspect of it so much, because I just really loved her writing. So I'm going to read her next book and see what I think of it, but definitely give her books a chance because they were really good. Book for that readathon was also a 5-star, and that was Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. And let me tell you, this book was so good. It was like, I think like I've always known I was gonna love it. I just like wasn't getting into it for some reason, but it's like a YA romantasy witch hunter. The ending had my jaw on the floor. It was just like reveal. I was losing it. And what's really fun is that this author is actually like a local author to me, which I knew about like a month after the first book came out. And I've been wanting to read it, but I was kind of just waiting, I think, till close to the second book came out, so I didn't have such a big gap. So Rebel Witch is coming out this month, in February. I do have it pre-ordered for my Kobo, because I'm just gonna get it on Kobo. I'm gonna read it that way, and then I am going to an author event. I think it's end of February, beginning of March. It'll probably be like 2-3 weeks after the book come out, so I'll probably be finished it by then. And I get to go meet her. I'm not sure if it's like a talk where she answers questions too, if it's just like a book signing, but I get a copy of it there, and then I get it signed. I'm really, really excited about it. So then one of my videos in March that's gonna be coming out, because that's what'll be like done being edited and all that stuff, is me reading Rebel Witch and going to that event, which I'm very excited about. And my last little video I did for this month was finishing series I'm in the middle of. So then I chose 3 books to finish off. So first one was Ship of Magic, and this one technically, like I just said, is actually the first book in a trilogy, but is the 4th book in an overarching 16-book series. So I'm counting it as continuing a series. This one's more set in Bingtown. It focuses on the live ships. So it's still in the same world as the first year trilogy, but not the same characters at all. They're not even like really mentioned in this first book at all, unless I missed like some subtle references. I do love the female main character representation in this book, because I know it was a big critique of Farseer when I got into it. I saw a lot of people saying that for a female author, there wasn't a lot of like strong female characters unless they were like side characters. This one, there is a bunch of females at the front and center, which I very, very much enjoy. And also just like remembering how I felt with the first Farseer book, and like how hard that was for me to get through, and then how easy it was for me to fly through this, gives me a lot of hope, not only for this trilogy, just for the rest of the series in general, that I feel like I've adapted to her writing now. I know what's going on, and I'm having a lot more fun with it. Definitely recommend. This was a 4 point, I think I gave it a 4. Maybe it was a flat 4 is what I gave it, but I've heard really good things of the next book, and I actually put it on my TBR for a 5-star prediction for this month, because I haven't had a 5-star from Robin Hobb yet, but I've heard that Live Ship is amazing, and I'm really hoping it's 5 stars. I really enjoy it. And I did finish off with Sky Beyond the Storm. This is the 4th book in the An Ember and the Ashes quartet, and this one was so good. All the devastation at the ending, I'm not gonna forgive her. I'm not gonna lie, I did see probably about like 100 pages before I got there, I saw a spoiler for somebody who doesn't make it to the end of this book, literally on the author's Instagram. Or it was like, maybe it was like a little like thing she did for some like talk show or some like podcast, but she's like, oh yeah, there's that book back there, like sorry, like to the, like these people's fans. And I was like, I was known for so long. It was like 100 pages to the ending. And I was like, of all the places I'm gonna get a spoiler, I'm not gonna get a spoiler on the author's page. Then sure enough, there it was. But I forgive her, it's okay. I do this series I want to go back and reread, because I'm still not sure if this one or the 3rd one was my favorite, A Reaper at the Gates. This is just such a good YA series. And I'd love to go back and tab this, also because they have like such fun bright colors. Like imagine all the purple tabs on this, it'd be so pretty. Is that how? That's bad, but anyways. And then my last book of January was my reread of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I like reading this book. I've actually read this book all the way through, I think 1 or 2 times. I realized in my video I kept saying only once, but I do think I finished this book when I tried doing a reread back in COVID times, back in 2020. The first time I read this series, fun fact, I was 7 years old. I read all the way through. I was like a big reader from a young age, where like big books did not daunt me. I just went for it. And so I read this, I think, when I was in grade 2, I believe. And I loved this series so much. And I made it all the way through all the books. And then I've tried rereading this series a bunch of times in my adult life, probably like 3 or 4 times now. And every time I get to this book and I stop, which is funny, because it's like my favorite book content-wise, I think. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just like the size, they're getting thicker, I start like giving up a little bit. Also, the first chunk of this book is pretty hard for me to get through. The chunk where they're like not at Hogwarts, they're at like the Quidditch Cup game, all that stuff. I think it's because it's a bit long for me, and that's where I like struggle to get into like the good stuff in this book. But I feel like I actually might finish this once in 2020, and then I stopped at Order of the Phoenix. But what I'm gonna try doing for the next book too, that worked very well for this book, is audiobooking it. I think when I audiobooked the first little bit of it, it did really help me get through that like little slump I was feeling when I got into this book first. So Order of the Phoenix is not on my TBR for February, but I would love to just read it anywhere I can in that month, because I feel like I have to finish the series by like beginning of April the latest, because I feel like that is still sometimes snowy time here where I am, but the second it turns to spring, it's no longer Harry Potter time. Harry Potter time is the winter. But I'll still be wearing my Oodie though, even though it's a Harry Potter Oodie. This will still be worn. Don't worry about it. Guys, I think I had a pretty successful reading month. 14 books and 4 5 stars is not bad at all in my books, considering I also think my lowest rated was like a 3.75. So I'm gonna call that a win. If you guys liked today's video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. If you watched all the way to the end, comment a pink heart emoji. Anyone. I'm also TikTok Angel's Book Corner, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.